Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another Word of Gord. Average Folks in the Afterlife, number 53. And I've been going through the library here. That's some of it back there, and there's more of it over there, and there's more down there. A bibliophile's nightmare. Or, paradise, depending on the mood I'm in. Today's book on out-of-body experience is Out of Body Exploring by Preston Dennett. Been out a few years, but certainly has not been 2004 surpassed in terms of showing the beginner's journey, going from basic little out-of-body blips that turn into lucid dreams and things that are ended very suddenly by little panics or little bits of heightened emotion, shall we say. And of course, being called back to the physical by the usual physical needs. So, a good way through the book, he comes to high level out of body experiences. And these are really interesting. Although rarely, I have on occasion had what I consider to be mystical out-of-body experiences in which I've been able to access what I believe to be the higher dimensions. As any advanced astral traveler will tell you, there appear to be different planes or dimensions. Indeed, there are. More than you can enumerate, really. And I gave up trying to do that years ago. You can do a sort of a general, lower astral, middle astral, upper astral, mental plane, causal plane. But once you get into the little subdivisions and communities here, there, and everywhere with different belief systems and different assumptions about who gets to be in paradise and who doesn't, and a quick glance at the number of particularly Protestant sects, I find, who seem to evolve into those dead-end belief systems. Dead-end in that it leads them to a little heavenly paradise, but no farther. Not that heavenly paradises are bad, but as Bruce Moen calls them in these hollow heavens, there's inevitably an elder or a senior pastor or, a big cheese of some sort who dictates to the followers how the sacred scriptures are to be interpreted and who is to be admitted and who is to be exempted and who is to be cast into the outer darkness and who's that guy over there and why is he trying to get you to reincarnate? Things like that. Different planes or dimensions. All of this is carefully mapped out in various Eastern religions, and astral travelers like Robert Monroe, William Bullman, Robert Bruce, Bruce Moen, Marilyn Hughes, Robert Peterson, and many others who have made significant explorations. My first experience with the high-level astral projection was comparatively brief. Nonetheless, it remains one of the most profound spiritual experiences of my life. Lucid! I fly out of my body and run into my living room, out onto my balcony, and leap into the air. I am floating outside my condo, totally awake, and sure that I am out of body. Looking around, I see it is early morning. Everything looks totally real. I fly around and up over my condo until I am a few hundred feet above it. I'm so incredibly conscious. Looking across the horizon, I can see the buildings of downtown LA and the rising Santa Monica Mountains. I can't resist, and in an instant I'm flying at high speeds over the San Fernando Valley to downtown LA. I fly over and around several of the tall buildings and then fly away and over the Santa Monica Mountains. Now, doesn't that sound like fun? My astral body is zinging with energy, and I can't believe how wonderful and freeing it feels to fly this way. I swoop down over the countryside, flying and turning and doing all sorts of maneuvers. I can't believe I'm still conscious. Usually after flying this long, I can't sustain the zinging energies. And yeah, that takes a bit of practice. The energies, once you get into, fourth gear, It gets a little too exciting sometimes, and it takes a bit of practice to sort of chill out, calm yourself down. I keep flying until I suddenly see my condo as a little white dot down below me. Swoop down and finally come back to the balcony where I land softly. I float through the closed sliding glass door without any sensation and float above the couch. I am more conscious than I ever remember being, and all that flying has left my astral body zinging with energy. I feel great. I'm sitting there totally absorbed in soaking up the refreshing energies. I am thinking that I've been out of body for nearly an hour, and this has got to be one of the longest times I've ever maintained consciousness. I know I must take advantage of this and try one of my experiments. I remember reading that there are places of knowledge on the astral plane, secret schools where travelers can go to learn ancient wisdom. I think to myself, go to a place of knowledge. Suddenly I feel a strong pull on my astral body and I'm pulled upwards at a high velocity through my roof and out into the outer space. I start going faster and faster and the physical world around me slowly disappears. This goes on for at least a few minutes and I am thinking that this is taking a very long time. And I begin to feel concerned that I might be getting too far away from my body. I can't see anything because I'm moving so fast. I decide to stop, turn around, and fly back. I stop and look around. I'm having a lot of trouble focusing. I kind of shake my head and blink, and this clears my vision. Looking around me, I'm a tiny speck floating in a huge, vast, open sea. I am the tiniest dot floating on the edge of an enormous black tunnel-looking thing. There are lots of foggy patches and wide dark holes or caverns, stretching in an incredible vastness on all sides. Everything looks very interdimensional with no solid features of anything remotely familiar. I am intrigued and wonder where I am. Slowly the scene begins to transform. As I watch, a totally lifelike environment coalesces around me. I am completely fascinated to find myself in a normal-looking dirt field. It is daytime. There are other people around, trees, a road. I'm wondering if this is a park and what it all means, when I look up and see something of extraordinary beauty. High above me in the sky are two small glowing spheres. One is pure gold, the other pure silver. They are glowing and reflecting with exquisite beauty. I look at them and feel an intense emotional pull. They are the most beautiful things I've ever seen my entire life, and my entire soul, every inch of my being, aches to have them. As I stare at them, I know exactly what they represent. As they hover there high in the sky, I know they are for me, that they are a gift meant especially for me. I know that they mean one thing, my eventual spiritual enlightenment. I have never wanted anything so badly in my entire life. Still in total command of my waking consciousness, I calmly sit down and make a strong, fervent wish. Please let them come to me. Please let them come to me. Please let them come to me. I hope, pray, command, visualize, and pull with all my power to make those beautiful spheres mine. Slowly, slowly, oh so slowly, the spheres drift downward. They are getting closer and closer. Soon they are within reach. I jump up and grab them. They are mine! I can't believe it! They are mine! I'm totally ecstatic and feel a hugely powerful rush of lucidity and vibrations. I feel incredibly humble and proud and relieved and fantastic as the vibrations pulse through my body. I wake up in bed ringing with the energy and feeling absolutely great. That was October 7, 1994. Another one called Out of Body in the Light from 1995. I'm lucid, out of body. It's daytime and I'm flying around my house. It feels so great and refreshing and freeing. I love this. I keep flying and flying until I feel waves of lucid energy pulsing through my astral body. I am really zinging and feeling great. My awareness feels especially sharp. I fly outside and into the sky, and I'm wondering what to do next when suddenly I see it, off in the distance. The light. I instantly think that this is the light that near-death experiencers talk about. It's way off in the distance and looks like a huge glowing cloud. The light is bright, bright white, with a kind of warm, yellowish, comforting tinge. I'm instantly drawn towards it and start moving there. My speed increases, but it seems to take a while to get there. The cloud of light looms larger and larger until I am a speck next to it. Just a little speck. Looks like a bright sun, but whiter and warmer and more beautiful. I am entranced and delighted and in awe. I dive into the light until it surrounds me. I'm inside the light. Everything feels incredibly warm and soothing and wonderful. I feel so great. Suddenly there's a shift and I find myself in a strange room. I feel a slight loss of lucidity and know that I have just forgotten part of what is happening to me. Looking around, I see a screened window. I take my hand and thrust it through the screen. It rips strangely and doesn't really follow the laws of physics. Still, I'm amazed at how physical and real it looks. Suddenly there's another shift and I'm back in my grocery store. I'm having a lot of trouble moving and it feels like I'm stuck in molasses. I drag myself along the frozen food section and start to ransack the place. I pull stuff off the shelves, open them, and dump the contents. I break windows and throw things across the room. I wake up in mid-throw. Now, Preston has a number of experiences, I think he considers sort of failed experiences, where he winds up in this thought-formed grocery store stuffing food in his mouth and naturally wonders what that psychological significance that has. But I'll leave that aside for those of you who wish to read the book, and we'll move right on to a tour of the heavenly realms, where he says he gets to recognize the different astral bodies. I am lucid. I leap out of my body and fly into my living room. To my shock and delight, there is somebody standing in the center of the room. I realize instantly that this is a real person and not a projection. It is a beautiful black woman. She is wearing a nice dress and has long black braids, large dark eyes, and a wide smile. She is looking straight at me. I feel like I somehow know her and love her, but I have no idea who she is. I'm wondering, could she be my spirit guide? I have a million questions running through my head. I rush up to meet her. When I reach her, she smiles at me with a hint of mischief, grabs my shoulders, spins me around, and, placing her hand squarely on my back, pushes me forcefully through the wall. That's a guide for you. I stumble forward and pop through the wall to the other side. I'm in some other place. Still totally conscious, I look around me. It's daytime and I'm outside in a courtyard alongside a street. There are large stone tiles on the ground. There are several small marble tables with chairs surrounded by a low wrought iron fence. Several well-dressed people are sitting at tables, eating and chatting. Several small buildings line the street. I have no idea where this is, but for some reason it reminds me of France. Feeling incredibly aware, I decide to try some experiments. I remember that Marco and Christy are looking for a home, so I shout out, "Take me to see Marco and Christy's future home." My astral body is instantly catapulted upwards and forwards. The landscape becomes a blur of color as I hurtle toward my destination at high speed. Suddenly I slow down. I am over a typical suburb. Two-story houses are neatly lined in rows alongside small streets. I stop a few hundred feet over one particular house. This is the one. I memorize the landscape. There is a tall stone cliff about 20 feet behind the house. Almost no backyard. A small front yard and homes on either side. A red tile roof. I swoop down and go into the house. I land inside the hallway. I'm amazed at how clear everything looks. I'm doing really well with my awareness. Now I see the kitchen and dining room on my right and the living room on my left. There are bedrooms behind me and a staircase going down to the basement. I'm wondering if there are any mental projections So I shout out, "All illusion disappear!" Instantly, at least half of the furniture disappears, as do several pictures and other things. There are only a few tables and chairs left. I laugh and fly downstairs into the basement. It is mostly empty and very spacious and clean. I fly up and out to the front yard, turn around, and examine the front of the house. Memorize the details and start floating upwards. Then I put some power into it and start flying upwards, faster and faster. I realize that I'm not breathing and wonder about my tiny body in bed. I'm not worried about it, so I just keep flying and wonder what to do next. Ah, yes, I want to contact my mother. I have tried this before and it has never worked, but feeling very aware, I shout, "Mom, Mom, Mother!" Instantly my mother appears. I'm electrified with happiness. I am amazed by her appearance. She looks about 25 years old, younger than me. Her hair is light brown instead of dark. She is smiling and as happy as I am at the reunion. We come together and hug. The feeling of love is intense. She looks at me as if to say, "I've got a surprise for you." She takes me by the hand and pulls me upwards. We are flying together hand in hand at high speeds. I have no idea where we're going, but I'm excited to find out. Suddenly there's a shift and we are sitting in an American luxury car. My mother is driving and I'm in the passenger seat. I'm amazed by its sudden appearance and my mom is laughing. Then I'm immediately transfixed by what I see outside. It is the strangest landscape I've ever seen. The entire ground is completely covered with smooth, fist-size brown stones. The terrain stretches out into the hills and flat plains for miles. But all of it is just the same. The effect is stunning. There's no place like this on Earth. I'm wondering where we are and where we're going. My mum looks at me and smiles as if to say, "Just wait." We travel along the thin, winding road through the rocky landscape for a few more moments, when suddenly there's a shift. We are again in a different place. The car is gone and we are standing at the edge of a small field of green grass. In the distance is a forest, mountains and green rolling hills. There is a small creek running along the edge of the pasture. There are no signs of civilization. The scene is straight out of a postcard and looks absolutely beautiful. The sky is glowing brightly and everything is in brilliant color. I feel incredibly great and free. I can't ever remember being in a better mood. Even the air itself seems to sparkle. Sparkle with love and good cheer. I never want to leave this place. I recognize the feeling and remember having been here before. This is what many people call the heavenly realms. I am totally elated. It feels like a summer morning and all my problems have been swept away in a tide of total bliss. Well, isn't that lovely? Mom takes my hand and we lift up and fly across the field. We keep flying until we reach the edge of the pasture. We land next to the creek. My mom looks at me with a glint of mischief in her eyes. Then she jumps into the creek and pulls me in after her. I laugh as we fall into the creek. As the water spills over me, I become fascinated by its feeling and texture. It feels totally real, cool, and refreshing. But it doesn't get me the slightest bit wet. It just drips instantly off my body. Yes, astral plane water. Quite marvelous. It really is. My mom is laughing at my bewilderment. She reaches down and grabs a giant strand of algae and flings it at me. It hits me square in the face. I am shocked. This is just like her to surprise me. I pull off the algae and am again amazed that it doesn't leave me dirty. My mom laughs and flings another piece at me. It hits me in the chest and neck. Okay, this is war. I reach down, grab a handful and hurl her at her body. Even though I know it won't hurt her, I am afraid to hit her in the face. She, however, has no such qualms and flings another piece. The algae fight goes on for a few more minutes until we are both rolling with laughter. I am so happy. My mom looks at me and raises her eyebrows as if to say, "Just wait, you haven't seen anything yet." It's like we have a telepathic link and I know what she's thinking. Or we just don't need words. She grabs me by the hand and we start flying upwards, faster and faster. Our speed increases when suddenly there's another shift or a barrier, and we pop through it and into another place. We're in a place of such incredible, sacred, pure beauty that I am completely humbled and in awe. Surrounding us is a landscape of pure white crystal, stretching for miles and miles in every direction. I can see everything in panoramic detail. The crystals are all shapes and sizes, but they are all shades of glowing white. Some are translucent, some are opaque, some are shining with an incredible brilliance. Some are very tiny, like little grains of sand. Others are the size of houses. Some are reflecting, others seem to be emitting light. Grains of sand and houses. Ooh. I am amazed by the quality of my vision. Not only is it panoramic, but I have the capability to zoom in on any crystal, no matter how distant, and examine it as if it were close up. I am delighted by this newfound ability, and I pick various distant crystals and closely examine their facets. This place is incredible. I've never seen anything so beautiful in all my life. No one would ever believe that such a place even existed. The feeling of cool, pure peace is all-encompassing. If I thought the pastoral place we just left was heavenly, this place is like nirvana. My mom is looking at me patiently and is obviously highly amused by my awe of and reverence for this fantastic place. She is sitting perched on one of the larger crystals, sitting very regally as she did when she was alive. She is kind of joking with me, saying, "Surprised you, didn't I? What do you think of this place?" I can only smile and shake my head. Now that she has my attention, she again raises her eyebrows and smiles as if to say, "Watch this." Oh no, I think, and here we go again. She laughs and points to a cluster of small crystals right next to us. I look at where she's pointing and watch in utter astonishment as the crystals in this small area suddenly turn bright orange. The orange patch is about 2 or 3 feet in diameter and is darkest orange in the center. I look at her amazed. That was a neat trick. She smiles and motions for me to taste it. Taste it, I think, incredulously. She nods and motions again, smiling. I reach down and scoop up a handful of the orange crystals and put them in my mouth. I am instantly overcome by an incredible and unique sensation. The crystals start popping and squirting in my mouth. They taste more like orange than any orange I've ever tasted. The flavor is so strong, so sweet, so pure. They kind of sizzle and pop in my mouth, exploding with intense orange flavor. The taste is almost electrically orange. It tastes so good. It's totally fantastic. I look at my mom and pour out my thanks to her. She smiles and takes me by the hand. It's time to go back. We fly downward and we end up in the pastoral heavenly realm. There are other people walking in couples or small groups along sidewalks or pathways. There are green, grassy hills covered with flowers and little pathways crisscrossing the area. Everybody is incredibly happy and serene. It's impossible to be in a bad mood in this place. We walk along the pathways for a short distance and then sit down on one of the benches. I look at my mom and study her appearance. She looks so incredibly young. She is laughing again at my expression. She then points to the sky and says, "Look." Written in white fluffy clouds are the words, "Love you, love you, love you." I laugh with delight and pour my love back out to her. We hug and suddenly I know it's time for me to say goodbye. Although I don't want to leave, I am so happy that it doesn't matter. It is time for me to go. There's a shift and suddenly I'm flying down a tight, bright tunnel at supersonic speeds. Another shift and I pop out into a strange room. I quickly manifest a dream journal and write down the experience. I realize that I have shifted down a dimension or body and need to carefully record all the details of the experience or I will forget it. Once I have all the details fixed in my mind, I lie down on a dream bed and try to wake up. No, I've had that experience, coming from a high level to a lower level, and thinking the lower level's physical, and you grab a journal and start writing, and then wait a minute, that journal wasn't there before. Did I just manifest that by thinking about it? What about the pen? And then you're observing yourself writing and thinking, I'm never going to take this back to the real world or the physical world. And then you go through a couple more transitions, and then you wake up with like a mishmash of all this stuff in your head, and then you try to write it down. I then go through a series of false awakenings, indeed, false awakenings. Each time I pause and carefully recall and memorize the experience. I am happy because I know I'm remembering pretty much everything. Good for you, Preston. Really. This happens 4 to 5 times, and each time I go through the same process of recall. I begin to get a little nervous about losing my memory of this event and wonder how many shifts I have to go through to wake up for real. I'm amazed at what a laborious process it is to step down these memories into the physical dimension. Yes. Finally, I wake up and look around me. Am I really awake? It takes me a second to get my bearings. Yes, I'm in the bedroom. The whole experience floods into my mind, and I start crying as I carefully recall all the details. I am so exhilarated. I can't remember ever feeling so refreshed and rejuvenated. It feels like pure energy is pulsing through my body. I am so happy. March 97. Well, a couple more of those. And some stuff about looking for the Akashic Library. Everyone has a go at that eventually. And let me say, it exists on several levels. On some levels, it really is a library with books and videos and remarkable amounts of detail on what we would consider history of cultures and history of, evolution of not just cultures, but individuals within civilizations as they rise and fall, and histories of those civilizations, including ones that we don't physically remember now. Of course, including Atlantis and Lemuria, but there was others too. It gets a little scary when you see how deep and wide it is. In search of the Akashic Library, I should mention that there are other levels where it's not a library at all. It's a sort of a sea of light, and you throw out a question and you get an answer. And the question could be, was I really a slave master in ancient Egypt? Pfft, yes. No. Was I really involved in political scandal resulting in assassination in Renaissance Italy? Pfft, yes. No. Maybe. You helped out, but you didn't really kill the guy. All this kind of stuff. All sorts of things. And including more, anthropological, paleontological details, the scientific types might be more interested in. All this stuff can get answered. Now, when you have that experience, a drop of light in a sea of light, and it's the Akashic Library, whether you believe it as it's happening or just think it's pretty, giddy fun, is another story. And whether you remember even shreds of it when you get back to your body and wake up is again another story. So, I am lucid. I induce the vibrations and roll easily out of my body. I see nothing but total blackness. Suddenly I'm surrounded by tiny white dots of light that slowly coalesce into a scene. Flying over the nearby Santa Monica Mountains, a dark tunnel opens in front of me and is obviously for my benefit. And it is, and I enter it. As I fly through the tunnel, I examine it closely. Lighting is very dim, but I can make out rock walls. I see a mirror and examine my reflection. Feel a boost of excitement to be out of the body. I am really wondering where this tunnel is leading. Suddenly there's an opening and I easily pop out of it. I'm on a train filled with passengers moving through the countryside. Slightly disoriented, I look around me. Everyone seems dressed strangely as if they were the 1800s. It's moving along briskly. Slightly alarmed and wondering if I popped out of the time tunnel too soon, I fly out of the train. There's another shift. I'm in a beautiful park. There's my sister Valerie and her son. I'm amazed to see them. Suddenly, I begin to lose consciousness and I'm able to maintain it by fixing my gaze on various objects. I start off and I start flying, 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 flying to I don't know where. And then I shout out, "Take me to the Akashic Plane!" I keep flying until I pop out into a very bright area. Having trouble maintaining focus, but I can see I'm in a natural looking setting with trees, fields, flowers. It's very bright. Everything is literally glowing with white light. Several hundred yards to my right, I see a stone or marble building. It is a large Roman-looking structure with huge white pillars in front. I feel a strong pull towards it, and I get a strong impression that this is the Akashic Library. I gulp and wonder if I could possibly be worthy of entering that magnificent structure. Now there's something to think about. Gulping and wondering about your worthiness. That is limitation. And that is how you limit yourself from more expanded experiences. If you have a religious belief system, you'll think, well, I'm not holy enough. Only the disciples or the apostles can do that. You know, that sort of a thing. You think yourself as a sinner, as wicked, as selfish, you know, all that negative stuff. So you have to watch out for that. I keep flying until I pop out in a very bright area. I'm having trouble maintaining focus. Oh yeah, we've done this. Roman-looking structure. I gulp and wonder if I could possibly be worthy of entering that magnificent structure. I am too nervous, so I take off flying. Suddenly I see my sister Victoria. She says she has a pain in her left side. I heal her by sticking my astral hands inside her at the area of discomfort. That was quick on the ball there, wasn't it? Right away, he knows exactly how to heal. What does that tell you about who you are in other bodies? Afterwards, I see another tunnel. I feel the compulsion to dive into it. In seconds, I pop out to the other side. Again, I'm in bright, beautiful sunshine. To my amazement, I can actually feel the warmth of the sunlight on my body. It feels great. I'm losing this, but I have no idea at all where I am. I get the feeling that this is the physical world, and then I see cars. Am I over the freeway north of my home? As if on cue, I suddenly hear sounds in my condo, normal traffic noises or people in the hallway. I'm being pulled back. And another inside the Akashic Library. I'm lucid. Well, that was 2002, by the way. Not that these times really matter, because you can have profound, as an experiential newbie, you can have profound ones early on and, you know, silly, short, unproductive ones later. It gets all mixed up. I'm lucid. I slide sideways out of my body and off the bed, fly upwards into space, start calling out, "Mom, Mom, Mom." I fly in a wandering path as I keep calling out, "Mom," over and over. She almost never shows up when I call her. Our visits are always on her terms, not mine. But this time I'm not giving up. I keep calling her, picturing her, reaching out to call her. I call her 20 times, 40 times. I'm flying around and can see nothing but white space. Then, to my utter amazement and delight, my mother pops in front of me. We rush up and hug. The feeling of reunion is intense. She has been so patient with me bugging her like this. I can't believe how beautiful she looks and how great it is to see her. We talked for a while. I can't seem to remember most of the conversation. I finally remember telling her I wanted to see the Akashic Library. She takes me by the hand and leads me outside. For the first time, I realize we're in a room. She tells me I must go on alone. I start flying upwards, then there's another shift, and I'm suddenly inside the library. It's a small room. Floors, walls, ceiling are made of glowing quartz crystals, or maybe sparkly white marble. Everything is glowing white and dazzling with unbelievable beauty. The room is rectangular. I think there's someone behind me directing me. There's an open door in the hallway, but I'm too amazed by what's on the walls to pay attention to what's behind me. A bunch of what looks like mirrors or screens are placed around the walls. I am so amazed that I can lift my left arm up and stare at it to see if it will disappear. This will verify if I'm actually out of body. Sure enough, my arm dissolves, starting with the fingers and going slowly downwards. Oh my. I turn away and gaze deeply into one of the screens. I see all my past lives whiz by in quick succession. The speed is intense. It's like flipping through a deck of cards way too fast for me to retain any detail. The message is clear. Although I'm not given any details about my past lives, I now know that there have been many. The images flit by one after another and then suddenly stop on one particular image. To my amazement, this is not a past life but a future life. At least that's the impression I get. In the screen I see a three-dimensional image of a handsome man. He is bald and has the most amazing silver eyes. He seems ageless, incredibly wise and loving. I'm wondering if he's even from this planet. Although he looks human, his eyes are so mesmerizing. Suddenly I'm not so sure if he's just an image or if I'm actually meeting him. Did we exchange words? Do I remember kneeling in front of him and asking questions? I'm so emotionally moved I can't retain awareness and wake up sometime later. Then another visit a couple of months later. I'm lucid again, fly upwards and upwards and upwards until everything becomes dark and I hit a massive barrier. This is the veil between the dimensions. It feels like a solid wall stretching forever in all directions. All I know is I want to get to the other side. I start pounding and clawing at the barrier, trying to get through. The song Knocking on Heaven's Door comes to my mind as I rip my way into the next dimension. Sometimes it is like that, a barrier and you rip your way through it. I've had that many times. Finally, I rip open a tiny hole. Instantly, the hole floods forth with beautiful, divine, heavenly light. I rip it open and climb or squirm my way through the hole into a dimension of pure light. Everything ugly in me is left behind, as if the veil is like a screen that sifts out all the unwanted psychological baggage. I'm now standing in a beautiful nature scene, light and airy and very bright. I'm on a small grassy hill overlooking a beautiful blue lake. The water is shimmering and glinting like 1,000 diamonds. The hills and trees are glowing so brightly it almost overwhelms the colors. I feel calm, peaceful, pure. I fly upwards, and beyond the lake in the distance I see the Akashic Library. Flying or looking closer I can see it clearly. It stands several stories tall and has maybe a dozen tall white pillars in front. The architecture reminds me of the United States Capitol building, only it's larger and more exquisite. I'm totally fascinated. The scene shifts and I'm back in my bedroom, plop back in my body, still feeling the vibrations. I swoop out and float around onto my balcony. It's still dark out. Suddenly I swoop into another person's apartment in my building and observe him sleeping in bed. I didn't mean to do it and I can't control myself. I know it stems from an earlier unexpressed desire to see who lived in this particular unit. After I observe him, I return and wake up. So, not entirely satisfying, but, gives you an example of what can be experienced as one sheds one's inhibitions and presumptions of limitation. So thank you for that, Preston Dennett, Out of Body Exploring, 2004. Obviously, I just read sections. There's lots more there, but I thought those were the most interesting sections. And fairly soon, we will get to our next stop-off point, Paul Elder's book, Eyes of an Angel. Again, a memoir of his own spiritual journey, and including a lot of out-of-body experience. From 2005, Eyes of an Angel, Paul Elder. Until then, my friends, I wish you serenity in this time of great disturbance on the world stage. Much irritation and annoyance and upset from all sides of the political spectrum. Everybody's mad at everybody else, and a lot of people are very mad at one person. But I urge you to put that aside and enjoy the unfolding adventure of your own consciousness as it reaches out in many directions and feeds you a lot of interesting stuff. Farewell for now.